Hey YouTube, Matty's A12 Team JMT coming to you guys with a judging recap. If you guys have kept up with me here recently, you know that I judged at the Louisville Regional on August 31st, and I'm going to give you guys a bit of a recap of what went on and like how the tournament went and all that stuff, and just my experience judging. I've also got me a little cheat sheet of what went on, so I can give you guys an idea of like what questions were asked round by round and that kind of thing. So let's get into this. First and foremost, I want to say that if you guys ever have the chance to step up and judge at the regional or higher level, you need to do it. It was a lot of fun, and I might be saying this with blinders on just because of how well our event was ran. John Rocha was the head judge, and he's been doing this a while, and he's been doing an excellent job at this for a long time. So huge props to John Rocha, and a huge thanks to him for making my my first regional judging experience just amazing. So what did I have to do to prepare? I've already made that video. What did I had to wear all black, shoes, socks, belt, pants. I went out and bought a black polo just in case they didn't have a Konami shirt there for me, which they did. So I had my Konami shirt and everything, and I looked real legit. Yeah, I mean, everything was fine. We were at the Expo Center. Everything was real nice and well put together, which you would expect out of a convention center. 170-ish players. I forgot exactly the right number. Of course, it was the last tournament of our format on August 31st. The new format hit September 1st, so we were expecting kind of a smaller turnout because of that situation, because of the format issues and whatnot. Prophecies ended up winning. A girl out of the Nashville area. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name or not. I think she's a subscriber of mine, though. So she played Prophecies very well. she played very well and played Prophecies and got first place. There was another Prophecy in 8th place. There was a Dragoonity at 5th, and everything else was E-Dragons, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's what it was. I mean, it's the format. That's kind of what you expect. So now let's get into like what went on round by round. I was in section 2, which put me at tables 17 through 31. So I wasn't at the top tables. I was next to the top tables and would help out there when he got multiple questions. But I was at the second tier table and stuff, and some of the higher level players. So it was kind of cool. But round 1. There was very little questioning going on in the first round. The only question that I did get was player A has an Ophion with materials on board. Player B tries to activate Murmil Abystus in order to discard heavy infantry to special summon Abystus and then target the Ophion to destroy him, which you can't, because you cannot even attempt a special summon of a level 5 or higher while Ophion is on board with materials. So that was a rather easy one, especially since I've been playing Evil Swarms here lately, catching up on some of that stuff. So yeah, round 2. Now this one was a bit interesting, because in round 2 the situation that we had was player A was playing Chaos Dragons and played Charge of the Light Brigade. Milled his 3 cards for Charge of the Light Brigade. Did not search for his card. He got anxious because when he milled, it put the appropriate number of darks engraved that he needed to make his big push. So he summons Blackluster Soldier, to which his opponent plays Bottomless Trap Hole. he removes Black Luster Soldier, and that's when he realizes, oh well, crap! I forgot to add my Lila that I wanted to search for with charge. So he then picks up his deck and begins to search, and player B's like, whoa, you can't do that. You missed your timing. You missed timing on being able to search for your charge. Judge called. We come over, and because of the situation, I knew somebody was going to have to receive a penalty, and I knew the ruling that Charge of the Light Brigade does not actually miss timing on that. There's no timing issue. It is a mandatory effect whenever it's been activated. As long as they're an available target inside the deck, Charge of the Light Brigade has to resolve. Even though he got anxious and tried to continue his play, we were still in a fixable game state, so we have to move it to the point to where we can get the card into his hand, and then move it back forward to where the point where Black Luster Soldier is getting removed. But I knew somebody was going to have to receive a penalty, and I wasn't for sure exactly how that was going to have to happen. So I called for Rosha to come over, and he helps me out, and we apply the proper penalty and everything. And but yeah, so there it is. That's what happened in round 2. Round 3, there was a lot of questions about Abyssphere. There was a lot of mermills there. A lot of people getting ready for the format we're in now currently, but a lot of mermills. So there were some issues with Abyssphere. Player A enters in phase. Player B acknowledges that player A is entering in phase, and then plays his Abyssphere, which of course Abyssphere reads that it destroys itself during your opponent's next end phase after activation, which means his Abyss Land sets on field, and he was like, oh crap. Which, I mean, then that really wasn't that big of a deal, because it's the same result, just takes longer to do it. So that game goes on a little bit further, and then they call that same game calls me over again, and has a situation where now player B still has the Abyssphere up, and player B still has the Abyssphere up, and player A plays Royal Decree. In which that point, for whatever reason, the OCG and the TCG are different on this, but here in America, you miss timing on your Abyssphere, and Abyssphere cannot destroy itself during that end phase now, because Royal Decree is keeping it from doing that. So that was another interesting ruling that I had to try to explain to somebody. What else happened? Didn't something else happen? Okay, round 4. Round 4, there were several Insector players also. Round 4, we had a bunch of questions about Set Caliber. Get my cheat sheet back out. Set Caliber and Gigamanus, and talked about when they would miss timing and when they wouldn't. Set Caliber really doesn't have an opportunity to miss timing, because it says that when it is sent to the graveyard, this happens. So it doesn't matter if it goes to the graveyard, if the monster is destroyed by battle or whatnot, it still activates. Gigamanus, however, the monster that it's equipped to has to live through the battle, because it says when this card is sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster. So that card has to go to the graveyard with the monster that it was equipped to staying on the board in order for Gigamanus to activate. Which, it's whatever. That's how the cards play. But that was one of the questions that was asked. Next, still in round 4, player A plays Electric Virus, taking control of player B's Draco Sack. Player A then, during the battle phase, declares an attack with Draco Sack. Player B Book of Moons his own Draco Sack that his opponent is now controlling. Does Electric Virus still resolve and put the monster back onto his opponent's side of the field? Yes, Electric Virus recognizes that monster has to return. So yes, that monster face up, face down, doesn't matter. That monster is still going back to your opponent's side of the field. There was another one in round 4. An active Eradicator Epidemic Virus, turn 2 of the active Eradicator, opponent draws Book of Eclipse. It's a quick play. You can chain quick plays during your draw phase and everything. Can he chain, or can he activate his? Well, his question was, could he chain? Which you can't, because there's no chain link to chain to. But could he respond, activate his Book of Eclipse from his hand before Eradicator Epidemic Virus destroys it? No, you can't. Eradicator is a continuous effect. It's a lingering effect at that point that lasts for those 3 turns, and there is no opportunity. Once you draw the card, it is revealed, and when it is recognized as being a spell card, it is destroyed, or trap card, whatever, and there is no opportunity for you to respond or to activate it at that point. So no, you can't do that. If you're under Eradicator, you draw Book of Moon, or in this example, Book of Eclipse or MST or anything like that, you do not have the opportunity to respond to that, because it is a lingering effect and it immediately comes into play. Alright, round 5. This one was kind of interesting. Round 5 is when we started having people start to not show up. So you'd have like the automatic drops and stuff. So once you're 3 minutes late, you get a game loss, and then when you are 10 minutes late, you get a match loss, and then you are dropped for a no-show. So the question came up: if you are 3 minutes late and you get a game loss, who goes first in what is technically now game 2? I wasn't for sure, and when I turned to Rosha to find out, the guys just rolled a dice and figured it out themselves and went ahead and started anyway, which it ended up the guy that lost got to choose, and of course he went first. The guy that got the game loss went ahead and went first. However, I found out that whenever you receive the game loss, it is recognized as you losing game 1, and of course who gets to choose who goes first in game 2? The person who lost game 1. However, they do not get the chance to side deck. That was an interesting point also, is that you do not get the chance to side deck in that situation. Even though that you may or may not know what your opponent is playing, you're behind the 8-ball a little bit, you don't have the opportunity to side deck. You have to play your decks as if it was game 1. Next, still in round 5, Spellbook Tower versus MST. If I activate my Spellbook Tower to put a spellbook from my graveyard back and under my deck, and then my opponent MSTs it, does the card still go back and under the deck for me to draw an additional card? One judge ruled it as yes. Putting the card from the graveyard and under the deck was cost for activating the card, but because it was MST'd, you would not be allowed to draw the card. Luckily, I was there close, and I was able to remedy that. That is not the proper ruling. Putting the card back and under your deck and drawing the card are both Tower's effects, not a cost. So you do not get to put the card back and under your deck when that happens. But luckily enough, again, I was close enough that I was able to fix that. Round 6. Round 6, there was actually no real questions. However, round 6, we went into time. And whenever you go into time, you have to find one of the, as a judge, you have to find one of the games that is in the round procedure, the end round procedure. Your 5 rounds, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're set and to finish watching that game to help them watch for slow play and to help them move along so that the games can get over quickly. And oddly enough, the game that I got to set down at was Mike Centers who is from the Lexington, West Virginia. I actually believe he's from West Virginia, but he plays in the Lexington, Kentucky area. And Trevor Marcus, who plays in the Louisville area. Now, these are a couple guys that I know. I'm a member of a couple Facebook groups that they are also. So I get to hear a lot of their opinions and stuff, and I got to sit down at the table and watch these guys play. Trevor was playing Prophecy. Mike was playing Dragons. And all I really got to watch was the last 6 turns, the 0 through 5. And it was an amazing game. Those guys played top-notch YuGiOh for those 6 turns. It really made me feel good to be part of the Kentucky meta setting watching that game. Mike made some very, very creative plays. Trevor set behind his resources, forced Mike into situations where he had to use his, and Trevor was able to protect his own. Just some really, really well played YuGiOh. Big congrats to Mike Centers and Trevor Marcus, who I believe they both got their invite. I don't know. I'm gonna bite my tongue on that because I'm not for sure. I know Trevor got his. I'm not positive on Mike. But anyway, an extremely well played game. Round 7. Round 7 was rather interesting also. The one thing I got to say about round 7 and the calls that were made in round 7 is, as a player, do not forget your right to appeal a call. Anytime that a judge comes to your table and makes a ruling that you feel may not be correct on any level, if you have the slightest bit of doubt, you need to appeal. This is the situation. I was a couple tables away. Kid raises his hand. Judge, my opponent effect veilered my Abyssland. If my Abyssland dies this turn, does my Abyssland get to activate and summon a monster? And first mistake as a judge, this guy says, no, it doesn't get to use its effect. So first mistake he makes is the play was not made. He is telling them how the cards are played before they've actually made the plays, which is considered coaching. So that judge stepped out of line to begin with by coaching the player. So if that was player A, then player B had a legitimate argument at that point and did not appeal that my opponent just got coached by your judge. He should have called for the head judge and said, this just happened. And at that point, even though the player is not at fault, there should have been some kind of disciplinary something happened there also. Some kind of penalty should have been laid down. I don't know exactly what should have been. However, the ruling that I heard was effect veiler on Abyssland. Does Abyssland still activate? The judge says no. And that I wasn't positive. And I won't lie, I wasn't positive. I go up and I talk to Rosha. I told Rosha, hey, I just heard Judge XX give this ruling. Is this correct? Rosha says, no. Effect veiler negates the effects on the field. Abyssland activates in the graveyard. If you effect veiler your opponent's Abyssland and Abyssland dies, Abyssland will still get to special summon the monster. So I go back over to the table and I stop the game and I'm like, guys, I gotta let you know, I'm sorry. That judge that came over and told you that was wrong. The effect veiler does not stop Abyssland's effect because effect veiler negates the effects on the board, and Abyssland does not activate until it hits the graveyard. To which the Mermail player got a little upset, and he was like, wait, well, I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently. I made my plays different because that judge says that. And I was like, well, you have the right to appeal, and you didn't. So here's the deal. Effect Valor negates the effects of the monsters on the field, not in the graveyard. There you go. I'm sorry. To which he was like, well, this should happen, that should happen. I should get some kind of compensation kind of thing. And I was like, well, you know what? Your compensation, your right, is that you have the ability to appeal any call that you don't agree with. And you didn't. You set and you accepted the ruling that the judge gave you. So you accepted the rule that the judge gave you. You had no question for it. You gave up your right to appeal. I'm coming to you now to let you know that that judge was wrong, and here's the correct ruling. If you had a question, you should have appealed. To which he got a little puffy, continued his game. He ends up coming up to me later. He was like, I won anyway. I understand now. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been that way, which was fine. I mean, it's all good. It doesn't really matter. But the biggest thing that I learned from that situation is, as a player, if you have any question about how a ruling works, or any doubt about the ruling you were given, you need to appeal that call. Round 8 pretty well went off without a hitch. There was really no judge calls at all. Everything went rather smoothly in round 8. I don't even really remember any of the ruling questions that were called for in round 8. I don't know that there were any. But that was pretty much my weekend, guys. That was how everything went for me. I know this video is a little bit longer than what I was hoping, but I feel like there's a lot of information, and I wanted to give it to you guys. So I appreciate it. Again, if you guys ever have the chance to judge, you need to get in touch with them, especially if you have the chance to judge it under John Rocha. You need to get in touch with him, and you need to volunteer to do this. Compensation was very good. I got treated extremely well by Bluegrass Magic Shop. Brennan Moody treated me very well in what he compensated me for judging. And you guys, if you ever have the opportunity to judge, you need to get your level 1 judge test, pass it, and start making contact with some of these judges and start judging your own regionals, guys. It's a lot of fun, and it's well worth it in the experience and what you will learn from doing it. So I appreciate it, guys. Subscribe, comment down below, show us how much you love us.